Welcome to Betting in the Break. I'm your host, Loud Esmond, here on the Winners and Winers Network. We're joined by David Delano, picker extraordinaire. And I assume you're on some other ungodly run right now, David. Uh-oh, David is muted. We can't hear him. Okay. Joining us also, we have Scott Keyport from Little Creek Casino. He is the sportsbook manager there. How are you, Scott?
I'm doing well.
Good. David, do we have your audio problem fixed?
Yeah, I'm good.
Okay, there you are. So I was betting that you're on some ungodly run, as you usually are. I had a very good NFL run going, but I took it on the chin today. Little Creek Casino Sportsbook is going to be very happy with my choices this week. I assume you're doing better, but first, let me get this out of the way. Sign up to the King of Sportsbooks with Winners and Winers BetMGM welcome offer up to $1,500 in bonus bets. First bet offer up to $1,500 in bonus bets. Must be 21 plus. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Terms and conditions apply. New users only. Of course, here in Washington State, it is not legal to bet online. The only place you can bet sports is in an actual accredited sports book that is in one of our great Native American casinos. And Scott is the manager of one of the closest ones to me, Little Creek Casino. And by the way, a very friendly place to go bet. It can be a little overwhelming to go into one of those giant sports books. And, they're not always the friendliest people at the counter, and there can be huge lines, and the people behind you get annoyed if you're a beginner bettor. Not that way at Little Creek. They are a very friendly operation and very personable. So if you are a new bettor, this is going to be a good place for you to go. Scott, trends. You were saying before the show that Little Creek is doing well in the sportsbook this week, so you're beating the public.
We're doing okay. Yeah, the underdogs helped us out a lot. So kind of a lot of those big money games for us cleared off the books, and we did okay. And we're also feeling good from the UFC last night. That helped us too. We had a start last night to the day.
Right. I was very focused on all the college football last night, so I didn't catch the UFC. But by the way, Sniper West, who's on the show with me on Saturday nights and does college football, he is a huge UFC fan and predictor of those outcomes. We'll have to have him on if we have some big UFC event that's coming up. All right, David. So tell me about some of the bets you had today and what trends you're seeing, and then we will be giving out picks for Sunday night football tonight and Monday night football as well. But let's get to some storylines quick. What do you see? What did you see in your betting trends today?
Yeah, obviously you mentioned a lot of dogs covering and winning outright. One thing for me, though, I don't really like labeling them like this often, but I did have a max bet. I do my bets by percentages to kind of help people in case they ever do get any of my premium picks. Max for me is 5%. I did step out on a max bet today, which was over the total in the game between the Saints and the Cowboys. And always good to have winners like that. We got over the total before the half. So
were the Saints over the total by themselves?
Almost.
Close.
It closed at 47. I got it at 45.5. So it was close. The Saints put up 44. Obviously 44-19 win. I did take a 1-1 early. Did take a loss in the Jags and Browns game, but I am on the Bengals +6. Looking at this one towards the end, that one's looking pretty good, and I've got one more play tonight in the game between the Texans and the Bears. So we'll see how that goes.
So I'm on Pittsburgh on the money line, and they just kicked a field goal. There's about a minute 51 left, so hopefully the Steelers can hold on and win that one for me, because I only have a few that actually I have a chance at. I actually have a very unsatisfying outcome in the Seahawks game because they won by exactly 3, so I got a push in that one. So there you go. By the way, obviously our winners and winers folks know this, but if there's any beginners that are tuning into the program, if the number lands exactly on the total, Seahawks -3, and they exactly win by 3, then that is not a losing bet, but it's not a winning bet either. It's what's referred to as a push. And you simply get your money refunded from the bet minus whatever the VIG is, which is that -105, -115 number that you pay for the privilege of having the sportsbook have an opportunity to take all your money away. So there's that. Do I get that pretty much right, Scott?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. The other one that I'm trying to educate our bettors on is the same game parlays for our book. And I imagine, each book is gonna be a little bit different, but if that's a push on a same game parlay, the whole ticket pushes out, even with losers already on it.
Right.
So, so they need, I think, bet. I say, if I'm a bettor, I'm saving up all my slips. I'm going to the window. I'm running them all. You never know. You never know what happens. If you miss a score or something, just, come to the window, talk to the ticket writers and check them all. Don't rip them up. You don't want to be that guy digging in the trash can looking for their bets.
No, that's embarrassing. David, obviously, I'm a Saints fan, which is why, by the way, I'm rocking the Saints colored tie with the black and gold. What do you think of them? Have you watched either of their games, and what do you think of what you're seeing? Is it real or is it Memorex?
It's hard to say. I did watch both of the games. I mean, I had the Saints on the do not bet list, on my do not bet list coming into this season. They burned me so many times last year. And now that's as far as betting on them on the side, not betting against them or betting on totals, but been very impressive so far. But we'll have to see. We'll have to see what happens. I think that the Saints they're going to catch everybody's best punch looking forward. I don't think anybody's going to be overlooking them. The Panthers are just so bad. I know that this win over the Cowboys was good, but the Panthers are so bad that, as we've talked about, even with all of these dogs winning, one thing that has stayed pat is that the Carolina Panthers are still terrible. They're not one of those dogs included in that.
Okay, so being a long beaten Saints fan, I have PTSD. Whenever I feel good about the Saints, I start to feel bad. So I tried to talk myself out of the Saints actually being this good, but then I realized the offense that they're running is basically the 49ers offense. And they're using Alvin Kamara and they're using Taysom Hill in the McCaffrey role. And that offense hasn't really been stopped or stymied by anybody. Usually it's like today, it was really the 49ers kind of stopping themselves and just not executing well. So my fear was people are going to get tape on this team and they're going to figure out what they're doing, and then they're going to have a defense to stop it. But I'll tell you, the Dallas defense just looked totally confused the entire game. So who knows if it's going to be an illusion. Speaking of illusions, I bet you guys did really well on that Ravens-Raiders game, Scott.
Yeah, that was a nice one for us. Luckily, we don't have a lot of Raiders fans out here, like automatic bettors that they're hammering it no matter what. So that would have been a great one for the underdog money line, but we didn't have too much on it, so it worked well for us. Parlay killer too. That's a parlay killer.
Right. By the way, the Raiders are one of those teams. There are a number of teams that are just over bet. Mm-hmm. The Dallas Cowboys are another one. That's just the people bet with their fandom and they don't think about it. I'm using your line a lot, Scott. When somebody comes up and they're betting the name of the team on their sweatshirt, I'm not worried as a sportsbook manager.
Right.
They're probably not betting rationally. The Ravens losing to the Raiders, it's one thing to go to the Chiefs and lose, David, but to then get beat at home by the Raiders, the thing that worries me about the Ravens for the rest of the season, honestly, is the defense doesn't look that great. And Lamar Jackson looks awful. I mean, he just doesn't. He looked awful in the playoff game that they lost. And it looks to me like he doesn't want to run, like he's trying to prove he can be a great pocket passer. And I don't think that bodes well for backing the Ravens going forward.
You know what I thought was weird? If you watch that last play of the game, there's no guarantee that he would have scored. But when he took off, I thought that he had a chance to take it all the way to the house and possibly win the game. But then he threw it back on a lateral. Obviously, that's a long shot. But if anybody had a chance of running it all the way in on that last play, it was him. It looked like he had a couple men to beat, and with his speed, I thought that he had a chance. But then he threw it back. That made no sense.
It's in his head. I think it's in his head that the knock on him is he is not a great pocket passer, and now he's trying to prove that he is. I was disappointed, obviously, in the Lions. Again, another one that I think was probably good for you, Scott, at Little Creek. Were you surprised by either the Lions or the 49ers outcomes as much as I was, David? I know Sniper West on the show last night told me that he actually thought the Vikings had a chance against the 49ers, and I was like, really? But apparently he was right and I was wrong. What do you think about those two losses, Bucks
and
Lions,
49ers? With the short week, I stayed off of both of those. I didn't feel too great about it. I hear what Wes was saying. That 49ers was a game that on initially you liked them, but when you thought about the short week and some of the other factors, even Sam Darnold with the revenge, it made me stay off of it. And then that line for the Lions and the Bucks. I know that the Bucks, they had a lot of injuries in the secondary, but that line just kept going up a little bit too much. It's hard for me to lay that many points early in the NFL season on a competent team, because way Baker Mayfield's been playing. The Bucks are still a competent team, so I stayed away from both of those.
My money line bet on the Steelers at Little Creek has cashed, so I'm not quite as bad off as I was when I first started the show. All right.
He's coming out to kick a field goal with 3 seconds left. They're down They're down 25-23.
It's exactly what I said at the top of the show. Mahomes is going to take them down there, and they're going to kick the field goal and win.
I'll hear a cheer in a second outside of my office, but I won't know who won.
We'll know who they're cheering for. All right. So that wraps up the slate of all the games that have been played already. Of course, the point of the show is, hey, you either did great earlier today or you're like me and you're licking your wounds a little bit and you're looking to get right. So the get right game that you have the opportunity on right now is the Texans and the Chicago Bears. David, you've got a pick behind the paywall over at Winners and Winers. Is it the side or is it the over-under that you've got behind the paywall over there?
Yeah, so my best bet for this game is on the side. I've actually got that. If people are interested, I feel really good about it. I've got it labeled as the Sunday night bailout. Last week I had a Sunday night bailout pick, and it came through last week on the Lions-Rams game. I was under the total. That cashed, and expecting to cash this Sunday night as well.
All right, so you can't give out the side bet, which, by the way, means which side they're picking. And obviously, I bet you've got a number. I bet you're not doing a money line there because there just wouldn't be that much value in it. I think that Texans are pretty prohibitive on the money line, right, Scott?
Yeah, they're close. I think we had them at minus 280 this morning. I don't know where they landed at. So, you're laying a lot there.
You're laying nearly $3 to get 100 back. And I personally don't like going over like 150. So David, obviously you can't give that pick out. People have to go to Winners and Winers and go to Expert Picks and find your pick there, which, by the way, I highly recommend. You should get a pass to David, like buy his season now so that you can just have his picks all season long because it will pay dividends. So, David, what about an over-under for tonight's game?
Yeah, with these Sunday night games, look, points are more fun. So most people, we want to see points. We want to see action. We want to bet on overs. That's what we want to do. But I like the under in this game. I know it's not fun. It takes a little bit of the excitement out of the game until you're not seeing people score. But the way that the Bears offense looked in that first game against the Titans, they couldn't really do anything. I mean, Will Levis had to give them some points. And even on the other side, though, the Bears still is as good as C.J. Stroud and as good as Joe Mixon looked for the Texans in the first game. This Bears defense is still really good. So right now, 44.5. I know you probably want to see points. You want to bet on the over, but I like the under in this game tonight.
I've got no pick behind the paywall for Winners and Winers, so I can step out and say if I was to place a bet on this game, I would be on Texans minus the points. I don't see how Caleb Williams and that Bears offense is going to score enough to stay close. I know how good the Bears defense is, but I think they're going to spend a lot of time on the field. And I really like what I saw last week, especially, as you said, the addition to Joe Mixon has been great for the Texans. So I would be on the Texans -6. What does the action look like at the sportsbook, Scott?
You got ticket count and handle for both the point spread and the money line is all heavily favored on the Texans. So sharps in the public on both ways on that are in on the Texans. Our totals are split pretty even, actually, almost exactly 50%, both tickets and handle. So
Well, that's because people want to see the over, but I think the smart money is on the under. So I can understand why you're getting a split there. And then Monday night, David, it's the opposite. You've got a total pick behind the paywall, but you don't have a side pick. So Monday night, who do you like?
Initially reaction, want to go with the Eagles, but I'm going to go with the Falcons to cover. Sounds like AJ Brown's out. And, coming off of that trip to Brazil, it's going to be interesting to see how they respond. We've seen some of these teams, especially like the Ravens, the Chiefs struggle, coming off of those prime time games early on. Yep. I know that the Packers found a way to get it done today, but this first week, I think that Kirk Cousins, I know a lot of people like fading him in prime time, but numbers wise, it's actually pretty even. It's not as bad as sometimes the perception is. And we've seen a lot of dogs cash getting those 6.5 points, especially I'd wait to see if it gets to 7. And I'd probably take a shot with the Falcons.
So I'm going to be on the opposite side of this one. I'm not on the Eagles. I'm fading the Falcons. And here's why. Kirk Cousins doesn't look healthy. If Michael Penix was starting this game, I would feel completely differently. But he doesn't look healthy. It doesn't look like he can move. He was in shotgun all last week, and that tells me he's not healthy enough on that Achilles to be making the quick turns and handoffs and things that he's more comfortable sitting there in shotgun, which, by the way, is not his game. It has never been his game. He's best at play action. That's where he really, really excels. Plus, the game is in Philadelphia, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, Loud, you may be right about that, but I want to throw 2 guys who didn't look healthy week 1, and they covered on the road week 2. Deshaun Watson and Joe Burrow. Yeah. Both of those guys, they covered, and the Browns won on the road week 2 after looking terrible week 1. So just a thought.
Yeah, I'm happy if David cashes an Atlanta ticket, any Atlanta ticket, because we're hammered on Eagles all over the place on that one too.
Yeah, well, that probably means I'm wrong. So there you go, because everybody knows there's a reason why there's those big hotels and stuff in Vegas that look like New York City and Paris and all that, because the Vegas folks and the sportsbook folks and the casino folks aren't in the business of losing money. All right,
if we got a chance, I want to ask Scott a quick question, because I know you mentioned a lot of times with the public's on. But Scott, how much do you see like parlay action versus just straight tickets?
We typically get about 60% parlay, 40% straight action. People I think they enjoy the parlay tickets. It's fun. Yeah, big money is always on the straight tickets. Little money is always on the parlays.
Yeah, and because it's a way of taking $20 and turning it into 150, right? Which is you can't do that on straight bets.
And a lot of people, they like to say they'll bet a side, they'll bet the over, and then they'll parlay that into one ticket, which is a fun little way to do a bet.
Yeah. Always, that's actually something that I like to do quite a bit. All right, David Delano is fantastic. You can find his stuff over at Winners and Winers. I try to stay up with him, but you know what? Honestly, David outpicks me in most sports. I can go toe-to-toe with him in college and NFL football, but that's about it. So you can get my picks over at Winners and Winers as well. And Scott, Keyport Little Creek Casino, thank you for being here. I'm Loud Esmond for Winners and Winers, trying to make you a better.